Okay, so I have the beautiful Ellz here to talk on Marie's Memoirs meet and greet. So,
Marie's memoir.
female prison custody officer. That is a mouthful, and it sounds very important and very stressful. And like you have to be very thick-skinned to do that kind of position. So, what I want to do is I want to ask you a random question first of all. What did you want to be when you was a child, and why? So you know how like you growing up and like when you was in like primary school, junior school, you'd play little games and stuff, or you'd want to be a firefighter, or I don't know. What was your thing as a child that you thought you would grow up to be or wanted to be as a child?
My mind changed from what I wanted to be to what I became. I originally wanted to, in fact, be a midwife.
Really?
Yeah, I actually had I don't know what it was. I genuinely saw myself helping women give birth to their kids.
Wow.
I know, but then I ended up being a nursery nurse, teaching assistant, exam invigilator. I've done all of those stuff instead. So
wow.
Definitely different.
Wow. So that kind of ties in though, because that means that you're okay with all the gore and all the other stuff that comes with childbirth, like all the rest of the stuff apart from the baby, everything else.
I was okay with it, but if someone sends me a video now of birth, I'm like, So I don't know anymore. I don't know.
Oh my goodness, that's pretty interesting to be fair. Okay, so from being a midwife wanting to help, women give birth to their newborns, what made you what made you decide to join the Ministry of Justice? It's the Ministry of Justice, isn't it?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, good, because I kept getting that wrong. So, the Ministry of Justice, what made you join that and want to work in prisons and become a prison custody officer? Like, how did you make that transition and when?
I have always, for whatever reason, also had a thing for national security. I studied in university criminology and security studies.
Oh, wow.
So actually move forward in that aspect. I actually tried to apply for different other national security jobs. I was trying to, push myself early, but, they don't want college students, want full-time and all sort of stuff. I didn't have my degree yet. I couldn't get in. Since trying to apply, I also saw that they take on relevant experience. So then that's when I then found out that the job in the would class as relevant experience. That was just a sped up process. I mean, now I've got the degree, I could just do the normal steps. But, at the same time, this also tied in with where I wanted to go, because I've always had a keen interest. Movies, programs, national security, like I'm there.
Wait, is it CIS, that kind of detective show?
I like all of them stuff. I like all of them ones where they're trying to protect the president and you see them going underground. That's me, that is.
So that basically you're like an MI5 complete love, like anything to do with like secret services, agencies, all of that action stuff. You're down with it.
Yes, that was actually included in my university studies. MI5, MI6, Secret Service, GCHQ, all of it. Loved it.
Oh, wow.
No, I loved it.
No way. No.
Literally, I just need to get there.
Wow. So, okay, with these kind of roles, do you know if you have to, because I know for the army, for example, you have to pass a fitness exam, a physical fitness exam, if you are a soldier on the field.
Yeah.
Is it the same thing with working for the Ministry of Justice in your position? Do you have to fit a particular physical, test or something? Or not really?
Not really. It still depends on what particular job or company or aspect you go for, all of that is considered. But in terms of what I particularly do, no, a fitness test was not required.
Ah, okay. And so when you joined as the prison custody officer, what were your main concerns in regards to knowing that it's a high risk kind of environment? You know, there are dangers involved, there are risks involved, and it's predominantly male. What were your did you have any main concerns in regards to that, or was that not really something that you was concerned about greatly?
I don't know. I know a lot of people gave me their concerns.
I mean, that's understandable.
Yeah, a lot of people gave me their concerns, and even then I was like, you know, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, that's true. But I don't know, I still applied and I still got the job. Because there was even like the CNR bits, that's control and restraints. That's part of our tests as well that we have to do. That's usually on the more, that's as physical as we get in terms of the training, and that's if we're gonna basically be in a fight with a prisoner. And even though obviously, you know, you get taught the worst case scenarios and how to deal with the worst case scenario, whether it's you know, from verbal abuse to they've got weapons. And I don't know, I still did what I had to do and passed. And don't get me wrong, I've got my different experiences of my own CNRs, but no, I still love my job.
So do they teach you, so that's essentially like self-defense kind of, when they're teaching you how to be, you know, how to restrain and put someone under control so it's a safe environment again, and in that kind of manner. Oh, that's cool. I mean, I don't work in that kind of environment, so that it sounds very very active, and like you have to be on alert. Like you have to be alert literally from when you put your uniform on and walk into work to when you're leaving, and even just life in general.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it's, and I don't as bad as how it seems or it may come across. It's not as bad as it seems. Like, don't get me wrong, if they want, the only time you will get a bad day is if they give you a bad day. And when they give you a bad day, they do really mean it. But it's, I don't know, it's still, I still do the job, clock out, go home, then come back in, clock in, and do the job again.
Yeah. Do you find you're able to switch off from that role, or do you find that it kind of, like, say for example, you know, when you go into the I wouldn't say office, but you go into work, you go into whatever institute you're in, and you know, you have to be on alert. Are you able to then, when you clock out, are you able to then relax and kind of not be on alert, or do you find yourself just keeping in that mode, like that frame minds, and it kind of just continues, so you're always kind of subconsciously alert, or are you able to switch off when you finish work?
When I clock out, so like immediately from clocking out, I'm switched off. I am actually just getting about my daily duties. I see as literal as I've just clocked out. However, I know if I was supposed to, like, you know, do some shopping in town or something, that's where I'm now alert again, because I know that someone could approach me and say, "Oh, miss, do you remember me?" And typically, actually, I don't. But that's why I'm trying to stay alert, because typically whoever's coming up to me, I actually don't remember them. That's just because of how many people I'm going through in a day. And don't get me wrong, there are some which are very much a common face. You know, you do see them very often, but definitely if I was to go to town, I'm more alert, because there are some people who kind of fit the profile of a prisoner, of of how we would see them anyway. So I know if I see people, you know, positioned a certain way or dressed a certain way or whatever, I know that, I'll switch back on again, because I'm thinking they might recognize me.
Yeah, no, that's understandable.
Apart from that, though, no, I'm very much my daily duty.
Oh, that's decent. That's all right. Okay. You know, that's very interesting. Because I would have, yeah, it makes sense though to stay to you can switch it off, but then it's kind of like second nature. You kind of switch into it like straight away when it's required.
But it needs to be switched on, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's for safety of yourself as well.
Oh, definitely. Too many officers have told me their stories when a prisoner has met them out, you know, in their civilian clothing. That's what we call it in your CVs. So a lot of officers have told me when they're out in their CVs and the stories that they've come across when a prisoner recognises them. I mean, it's already enough when you're probably just on your break and you're walking around in your uniform. Everybody recognises you then. Oh, miss, you're taking me to court, and all the abuse starts up. And all you do was you was only getting a Fanta. And all this happened on the way to getting a Fanta.
Not a Fanta.
All of this happened on the way to getting a Fanta. So, and that was in your uniform. So, I mean, imagine what it's like when you're not in it.
Yeah.
Because really now you're not a threat, because now they know you're off duty as well.
Yeah. So, okay. So from completing your university degree to then getting this position, how did you find the transition, and were there any shocks to the system when you joined, or were there any steep learning curves that you had to pick up real quick?
Well, the transition from uni to this job, when I finished uni, I in fact joined victim support. So I was in the same area, but on the victims aspect. So I'm still dealing with the, same crimes, but just on the victims aspect, whether they're, how do I explain it? Like, there were some victims who would now be suppressed by the crime that they were a victim of, and that's what my job was, to then basically be able to help them continue with life. And then me joining on with this job, the offenders, this was more where I wanted to be, don't get me wrong. Again, victim support was a very good job. I learned a lot with that job. It just wasn't where I wanted to be, but it was a very good job, which led me on to the job I'm in now with offenders. This is where I wanted to be, and it was also not necessarily a shock to the system, but it was a continuation of my learning, where I was able to see it from the offender's point of view. Well, just from seeing from the victim's point of view, I think I was there for about 2 years with victim support. Then moved on with offenders, and I've been here ever since. So I think it's not necessarily a shock to the system, but it's more definitely still learning. And I don't know, you'll be surprised how great the difference is in the one crime with the victim's aspect and the offender's aspect, especially when the offender's aspect, I don't want to say their excuses, but their explanations, should I say, for going about the crime, or why that victim, the way that differs.
Wow.
Because I've had some offenders where they're saying the reason why they beat a particular victim up is because they stood on their trainer. I've had some as petty as that. As petty as that.
Not a trainer. Like, I mean,
I didn't even bother ask what the trainer was.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I've had it as petty as that. But then obviously, as simple and as basic as that explanation might seem from the offender, the victim is completely distraught. They can't leave their house now, Like they are distraught, because and then even if they do go out, the distance is like they'll be social distancing for a minute now.
Wow.
They
Understandable.
But that's what I mean. Like, there doesn't have to be anything big for you to be a victim of something. It doesn't have to be anything big.
That's interesting.
I don't know.
I mean, that must be.
No, they made me consider how I address certain situations.
I mean, I was gonna say. I mean, like that will literally have me thinking, okay, understanding these two different perspectives and how spread on the spectrum their reasonings and, you know, understandings and experiences are, it would definitely have me thinking about the way how I act and how I treat people and how I react and the rest of it. It's just like, you're no longer subject to your own point of view. You're constantly subjected to multiple kinds of perspectives, I guess. Definitely.
And you think to find out as well, any little thing can cause you to no longer be a victim as well. Like how you react to a situation, you may not necessarily be a victim anymore. You just otherwise another offender.
Yeah.
Nah, too much, man. This job made me really realize how quick and easy it is to become an offender. Very quick and easy.
Wow. That's a lot, you know. Like, I was just thinking, like, if two people have like a disagreement or something or some kind of dispute, and they're calling me, they're like, you know, what do you think of this? And then the other person's like, hey, this is my side, and then you've got their side, and then you're having to kind of like filter through, like, well, this is just information or some kind of something minor, not something, you know, where physical contact is made to harm people. Like that's very interesting. I keep using the word interesting because I'm just like, I'm soaking this all in. Like that is a lot.
Yeah, because there's a typical culture with offenders. They don't talk much. They don't talk much at all. Once you've offended them, they've gone to straight physical altercation. They don't talk much. So like, they made me learn some stuff as to how I deal with my own situation. Should I be out on my own? Because the first thing you will do is defend yourself, but you now need to watch how you defend yourself. It's not just about defending yourself.
Wow. So I'm trying to think, like, in regards to steep curves, was there any steep learning curves when you was actually in that your current role, or not really? Because with the previous role that you was talking about, the victim support, did that kind of you was kind of used to the system and how things were, and from that perspective, so then transitioning into your current role, it was an easier process. So there weren't really any steep learning curves, as it was.
No, compared to some, I wouldn't say I've had a steep learning curve, because some have come from a completely different job and then entered this. For them, definitely.
I was gonna say, because if I was to do something like that, then it would definitely be a shock to my little sister.
Yeah, I would expect that.
Yeah. Okay, then.
Definitely.
Oh gosh. So what about, okay, so if you're allowed to talk about it, what was the most outrageous thing that you've had to experience or endure whilst on duty?
Outrageous. The thing is, I have many stories, but what's most outrageous? A lot of them to me is just normal behavior. They're being very normal, yeah. That's what they do. For example, I've had one, I had to take them from one prison to another, and they didn't want to go. So because they didn't want to go, they then got a blade, cut their stomach open, and just start like throwing out their intestines out in their hand. There's blood everywhere. But as outrageous as that may seem to you, it's very normal behavior. That fact that they're doing this, very normal. If they don't...
Pause. pause. I wasn't ready. I was not ready for that. I wasn't. Hold on a sec. No, hold on. Where would the person have got the blade from to do that, first of all? And then
the thing is,
cut yourself open, you wouldn't, surely your body would be focused on the pain, so you wouldn't,
self-harming is such a minor situation in prison. Very minor. It's so minor. I can't even stress it. It's so normal. Like the way it's so normal for you to say hello, how was your day? It's normal to meet an offender that's self-harm.
Wow.
It's very normal.
Wow.
And then we got the blades from prisons do actually issue blades from their shavers. That's one of the common places they'll get a blade from. But prisons do issue them blades.
Wow. Because I guess when you are incarcerated, you can't exactly live in a bubble. Like you won't be able to do normal stuff for yourself. And then only when you get upset about something, you'll start to look for things that you could use as a weapon to do other stuff.
You have to bear in mind when you don't have anything to do, how creative your mind becomes. It doesn't matter how much we always in training and meetings about the next step forward to protect ourselves from this or stop them from doing that. They're always going to be a step ahead, period, because they're sitting there always doing nothing. So they don't even need to necessarily even be handed a blade to have done something with the blade. They could have used anything. They could have used their plastic utensil and made a shampoo. Anything is a weapon.
No, I hear that. Wow. So with the kind of different experiences of different kinds of behaviors, I'm sure that language, verbal abuse is
normal.
Have you ever experienced sexism within your current role?
I have, but not necessarily as you expect. I've experienced sexism in a way where we have a prisoner, and let's just pick a general scenario, like they've been sentenced and then they're not happy about the sentence that they've received. Now they don't want to come back from court to the cells. Typically in a situation like that, your prisoner looks like this and then the officers look like this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, believe it or not, this doesn't necessarily scare the offender. If anything, the offender's now preparing for a fight because you've brought in this. So now he does this too.
Right.
So I know in terms of that, that's where I've been in a situation where, because it's me, I walked into the room because he sees this and then he calms down to now talk to me. I'm only coming in to talk. So I've received it in that way. So it doesn't matter how much this officer wants to talk. The offender's only seeing this.
Yeah.
Even though he's only coming in to talk. But because I've come in, it's a whole just by my stature, I've already diffused the situation.
Wow, yeah.
So it's more on that level I've received it. But in terms of us as officers, no, we're very much united in terms of we are officers, we are a team.
Yeah. No, that's so important, especially in that kind of environment. Like teamwork has to make the dream work. So it's vital to make sure that everyone's supporting everyone and everyone's, wow. No, that's good. What about the prisoners? Do you find that, because I know that you've said that depending on the stature of somebody, it could possibly help diffuse a situation. Is it something that the prisoners even think about, or is it not really something that happens?
No, you've definitely got your fair share of prisoners who, because they're seeing this, they're giving me everything. Like, don't be mistaken by this. Like, definitely I get them prisoners to you. And then it's now I've had to have another officer walk in. Now they're fixing up. I've had that also. I definitely still get that. I do. There are some prisoners where I think just because I'm small and female, they think they can get away with their next move. No, because it's still the wrong officer you're dealing with.
Right. Oh my goodness. Oh wow. No, I hear that. Okay, so what kind of advice would you give to other women that are possibly considering or looking into or want to join this kind of, or be a part of this kind of career? What would be your 3 main points of advice on how they can best cope, things to be aware of, or just any kind of advice, like 3 tips, three tips of advice?
You need to stand your ground. Definitely. You need to stand your ground. Don't ever, as contradictory as this statement might seem, don't ever lie to a prisoner. Don't do it. Don't lie to them. You'll expect a fight if they find out you're lying to them. And even like a fight you've caused, and now you may end up having one of your officers injured, all because you lied. Just don't lie to them. A third one, always stay with your officers. Like, always be part of the team. If your officer needs you, it doesn't necessarily mean that the next male needs to help the officer. No, it really could still be you. You're the help. Don't ever leave your officer. I think those would be my best 3, because when it comes to working with prisoners, anyhow your officer needs you and you wasn't present, or you decided to do something else instead, that sticks with you for life. Within that history, within that industry, that reputation will stick with you, that you did not defend your officers in one particular situation.
Yeah, I hear the importance of that, to be fair, because it could possibly be a matter of life or death.
Yeah, it really is. As soon as you're the calls for help, go. Obviously, when you get there, by all means, risk assess the situation as quickly, as prompt as you need to. Do what you need to do. But as soon as there is a shout for help, go. Forget the tea, forget the conversation. Go and help the officer.
Wow, that's some
Because
sound.
it's actually, believe it or not, common. You would have an officer that hears all the commotion, and then, believe it or not, would hide because they're actually scared of the of the commotion ahead. That happens. It really does happen. And don't get me wrong; they're facing their time with other officers. They're definitely facing their time.
Oh wow.
I think that's one of the probably most unforgivable things you could do with this industry.
I mean, I don't want you to be part of my team if I need you. Whenever you need me, I'm there pronto. But when I need you, you're hiding in the coffee room. Nah, sis, nah, bro. That's not gonna work.
Believe me, people have applied for the job, done the training, and then a situation occurred and they decide to hide. Oh, it happens.
It just makes me think, like, how much, like, surely people know what they're getting themselves involved in when, especially with career choices like this, there's high risk involved. So then if you're, I mean, yeah, that's not good.
Yeah,
Not
I said
any-
you're
not any
surprised. Yeah, they're wearing their uniform, they got their belt on, cuffs, everything. They ain't using them though.
Child. Yeah, that's not great. It's not okay, right?
Yeah,
Don't
I
want
think
you on my team if that's how you're gonna be, okay?
all the tips, that would be my number one, because if you do that in any institution that you reside in within this sector, if you do that, not only do you get a reputation within that institution, but it will follow you at the next institution.
Whew.
You need to defend your officers. Stay with them.
No, I hear that. Wow. Whew. Well, I've definitely learned so much about, you know, a little inside scoop on what it takes, what it is, day-to-day expectations and of this particular career. I did have some questions that got posted to me online as well. The majority of them we've covered already. You've answered, and you've with your responses, you've already answered the questions. I do have one that is still outstanding that I think we should address. And the question is, how did you find the interview process for this job? How did you find, as in, how was your experience and how did you find the whole process of it?
I liked it. The training was about 6 weeks. Yes, it's about six weeks training every day, basically like 9 to 5. So 9 to 5 every day, 6 weeks.
Wow.
And it was from classroom work to presentations to live scenarios that we have to act out how we've been trained to perform. I think the most interesting to me was CNR, because obviously you get taught the worst case scenarios.
Wait,
so I'm like,
CNR is wait. CNR, something about restriction? No, maybe not. Okay, never mind. What's CNR again, please?
control and restraint.
That was it. Yeah.
So did I think that with control and restraint, I think that was more like, oh, am I sure? Oh, I don't know, because the worst case scenarios, and how they say, like, if I'm in court, don't get me wrong, when it comes to, okay, we're gonna fight a prisoner, you would be strategic with it. So you would get a sized officer matching the size of the prisoner to make it up within proportion.
Yeah.
Because typically, if it was going to be in court and have a fight, there are spectators. So we can't have somebody older and feeble and have all the best officers coming. We can't have that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are situations where I could be with a big prisoner and I need to deal with it now, or deal with it until another officer comes.
Yeah.
And with the worst case scenarios that they were teaching me, that was more like, oh, I'm not sure, I'm not sure. But these times, I've already done probably like 5 weeks worth of my training. Now you're doing me CNR, like I can't do it now. So, as I said as well, those situations have occurred as well, because I remember I was in court with one prisoner, another officer, and she decided to, she wasn't happy with her sentence. So there and then, because the judge then ordered for her to be quiet, which she wasn't, who then ordered us to then control her. So now it isn't a case of calling downstairs and plan to be strategic and get other, it wasn't that, because the judge has now ordered me to do what I need to do. I had to then do what I had to do, because even though I'm part of the prison system, the judge in fact has power over me too. If he says something to me, I have to listen. He has that power over me as well, which, believe it or not, I'm surprised some people don't know that. They feel, for whatever reason, they feel like, I don't know, they didn't know that the judge didn't have power over me too. But yeah, the same order a judge gives on a prisoner, he can give me that same order.
Wow.
So when the judge says, control her now, I have no choice but to get like a robot. I have to do it now.
Yeah.
So in that situation, I then had to do what I need to do with her. Obviously, I called my other officers just by a push of a button at this case. But I need to deal with her now. And for that, the training then helped with that, because it's not every situation you have time to really get the proper officers in. You don't, that's not all of it. So the worst case scenario helped for me in that situation, because typically I wouldn't have been involved in that CNR, but because the judge has now ordered it, I have to.
Wow. So
it was still sorted. I've been trained to do what I need to do.
Yeah.
But that was definitely one of the worst case scenarios. That wasn't proportionate. There was no officers offended to me.
I mean, that sounds eventful, very eventful. Like at the end of the day, I'm gonna need a big mug of tea, child, a hot bath ran, because I need to just gather myself, okay?
I know, because the thing is, some of these judges, they don't actually know some of the rules and guidelines that we work with. Some of the judges just see themselves as the judge.
Ah, okay.
So there are some stuff which we typically wouldn't do with our own rules, with our own guidelines, but simply because the judge ordered it, we have to go by what the judge has said, no longer by our guidelines.
Yeah.
Like, the judge has that much power over us the same way as any other person.
Wow. Wow. Well, okay then. Wow. Oh, yeah. Well, I can speak for myself. I've learned so much about some insight and what it's like to be a female prison custody officer within the Ministry of Justice. I think you're very brave. Okay? I think you're very brave.
It's not all that bad, you know. It's not that bad.
I mean,
it's not that bad. Trust me, it's not that bad. Come.
Yeah. Well, no. Honestly, on a more serious note, thank you for providing that insight, and thank you for what your responses and you sharing your experiences is allowing other people to kind of listen and be like, if it's something that they're considering or something they was unaware of, at least, the knowledge is shared, the understanding is shared, and they've got a better idea, I guess, about this kind of this kind of career choice. Girl. Child. Yeah, no, it's I think you have to be definitely thick-skinned.
Yes. Yes.
To do that kind of role, like, can't take things personally at all, anytime, anywhere, any place.
No.
Just have to keep it moving. Just keep going forwards. Just okay, I'm here to do this. Let's go. Like, no messing about. You ain't got time for your emotions, your feelings. Like, we just gotta get stuff done. Let's just get it. Yeah. Wow. Ellz, thank you so much for your insight, for your time, your energy. Absolutely loved this conversation. Wow.
Long time.
Oh man, no, thank you so much for coming. Guys, if you've got any further questions or anything like that, just let me know or put a comment in the below, and I'll try and get some more responses from Ellz. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed. Do not forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. If this has been really useful for you, let me know, and I will speak to you all very soon.